Okay, so I'm talking about setting now. One thing I should have said by now, in talking about LSD, is that taking LSD is a 2-day event. Now, generally for most people, the best time to take it is going to be Saturday morning. Um, I think, to me, LSD strikes me as being a nighttime drug. It's the type of thing I like to take at night. The problem is it doesn't interfere with your sleep, so to be able to get back on schedule by Monday morning, assuming that you have to be back on schedule by Monday morning, I would recommend that the latest you take LSD would be 11 o'clock Saturday morning. I don't know if I've talked about this before in videos, but you do need a day to rest after the trip. It's very important. So it's definitely a 2-day thing. If you're going to take it like Saturday night, I wouldn't really want to have to go to work Monday after something like that, because you could mess your sleep schedule up. It may not be good. You really need 2 days. So the second day, the first day is for the trip, basically, and the come down. The second day is to reflect on what it is that you've learned and incorporate it in your belief system. And I would say to catch up on your sleep, which is very important. But you may find it difficult to concentrate on other things the day after an LSD trip. So you really want the day off, if at all possible. So what kind of settings do people like? Well, I think the safest for your first LSD trip is to stay at home with friends. So some people like nature. I don't know how convenient that is. It's not convenient for some people. Then another setting for your first LSD trip, I think would be acceptable, would be a music festival. Now, people say LSD is not a recreational drug. Okay, I do use it as a recreational drug sometimes. I don't have any trouble behaving normally on 500 micrograms of LSD in public, because I have done that. As a matter of fact, I couldn't even really tell I was tripping all that hard. If you are wondering how hard you're tripping, a good thing to do is to stare at yourself in the mirror, because that's a good benchmark. That's very reliable way of finding out how hard you're tripping. I've heard it said about LSD is that you don't see hallucinations like out of nowhere. That you generally just see things differently. Like maybe something has appeared to have come alive, like a piece of furniture, something like that. I've looked up at the stars, and I mean, I've seen them swirling around, just swirling. It's like, it wasn't even really that interesting or anything. It was just kind of annoying. But I've heard people say that they can't read on LSD because the words swirl around and everything like that. And that wouldn't surprise me at all. I really don't even try. But generally, that is the type of hallucination that you get on LSD. You don't see stuff like out of the blue that isn't really there. You just see things appear differently. So the one exception I would say to this that I've noticed myself is that in staring at myself in the mirror one time, I did get the impression someone was looking over my shoulder. So That was pretty weird. Um, I did see, and there's a lot of documentaries on YouTube about LSD, and in one of them they show, I think it's a young lady looking at herself in the mirror of a public restroom. It's a long mirror, and she sees someone appear next to her in the reflection, but when she looks, there's no one there. So I think that is maybe, when you're looking in the mirror, it's very strange. It's a very strange thing on LSD, and I think that is one time that something can really appear uh, that isn't there. It has for me, at least. It's the only time. And there is something very strange about staring at yourself in the mirror. And whenever you shift your eyes, the whole effect goes away. But it can come back very quickly. I have seen in these LSD documentaries where they'll show someone staring at themselves in the mirror, and the reflection will be a monster. So yeah, that can happen. That's definitely happened to me. But one reason why it's probably not as horrifying as it's often depicted is because if you shift your eyes, it will go away, it seems, for me. Even though it'll come back quite quickly. It's just the fact that because you shift your eyes, it goes back to normal. It's a little bit, it makes you feel better in case you're really getting worried. So that is the benchmark for knowing how hard you're tripping. Is staring at yourself in the mirror. That's what I found. Now, people say it's not a recreational drug, but I think if I was at a party where everyone was on LSD, that would probably be a very good party. But I think it's safest to adhere to the adage, LSD is not a recreational drug. That's probably the safest way to look at it. Now, I guess there's always a chance that, you're tripping, and, I've heard at least one person, I think it was a young lady, right, that she didn't really feel comfortable with the people she was tripping with. So I guess there was always a possibility that it could be better just to leave. Just go leave, do something else. If you feel that way. I would say that, people, LSD can have a sort of intoxicating effect on you, where you could become uninhibited. And I've heard that's due to the fact it cuts down on activity between different sections of your brain. And I have noticed that when I've been in public, I sort of have like a little bit of a drunk feeling. It's not too bad, it's not too much, but there is an uninhibited sort of feeling that it gives you. And one thing that I think that you want to be careful about when you take LSD is not to do any drunk dialing. Just start calling people out. I would resolve not to call anyone at all. Just to turn your phone off for like the whole day, if at all possible. So you do want to avoid drunk dialing there when you're on LSD, because you start talking to people and they may not really understand what you're talking about. You may feel frustrated by that. I have heard it said that people will say that they'll be walking around in public and just tell people that they're tripping, because you do kind of have the urge to be honest with people. So maybe it's not the best idea, though. So that's the whole idea of the setting. Is that, some people nowadays like to text message. To me, text messaging seems like it would be one of the worst things, something that you really wouldn't want to do when you're on LSD, because sometimes I try to send someone an email or something like that, and it's very difficult. It feels very difficult to operate a computer on LSD. So it's not something that you want to do. I don't think that you want to sit around watching televisions or a movie or something like that, or YouTube. I don't think you'd find that enjoyable. I've been watching television when the stuff has started to take effect, and what I notice is that I can't focus on it. So let's say it's a movie or something, I just can't focus on it because all my attention just turns inward to my thought process. So I just can't focus on a movie or something like that. So that's really not going to be something that's enjoyable for most people.